Welcome to the 100th episode of Off the Menu. I'm Vincent Franchini from Tumblr House, here with a centennial Charles Coulombe.
Centennial? Wow. 100 episodes, ladies and gents. 100 episodes. This is nifty. Who would have thought 3 years ago, however long it was, that we would have seen 100 episodes?
I know. Time flies.
It's amazing. I mean, gosh. Because of your bizarrely arcane methods of getting me hooked up on this feed, I had to endure. Oh no, I shouldn't say endure. She's a sweet lady. I don't want to bag on her or anything like that. But Laura, the receptionist, you always stick me with her for like a half hour. Well, not all right. I exaggerated. 15 minutes before we finally see each other. And so she was telling me that she rarely ever sees you anymore coming in the morning.
Okay.
Well, you always used to come by and say hi, smile, maybe give her a big box of See's candies or something. And then, you'd go, but this is before you became the power you are now. And then you'd go to the elevator and go to your, I don't know, floor on the 14th or whatever it was. She says ever since you bought out your brother, she doesn't see you anymore. That's what she says.
I'm not looking for love, Charles. I'm not.
Well, not for her anyway. She's got a large lady, but still, I don't mean that. I don't mean that in a bad way. I don't mean that in a bad way. She's also too old for you. She's old enough to be your mother, for heaven's sake. Forget it. And she's taken. She's married.
Yes. Well,
anyway, the point is, she misses you.
That's nice. That's sweet. That's very sweet. Tell her I appreciate that.
I'm sensing a lack of empathy. You know what it is? It's that bloody office.
You like the view? Top of the Tumblr House building?
Yes, it's wonderful. But I think it kind of distorts your sense of proportion, personally. I think it has taken away a small part, not a large part, a small part of your humanity. I really do.
I mean, to me, it amplifies my humanity because I am able to see so much of humanity from up here. You've never seen the view from up here. It's really unbelievable.
Yes, I'm looking at it now. I mean, it's downtown LA. The Eastern Building, oh gosh, what's that thing over there? Not the Mutual Building. Prudential.
There's City Hall right there, back there. That's the City Hall building.
I know, famous as the Daily Planet in Superman and destroyed in War of the Worlds.
Yeah.
I see the whole thing spread out before you like a chicken delight menu, and great. But I don't think you really feel connected to downtown.
It's an unbelievable altruistic feeling of interconnectedness from up here. I mean, you can see everything that's going on. I mean, I got to bring you up here one time. I mean, the people from up here, I mean, the people just look like ants.
Right.
And in a way, though, they are ants. But anyway, what were we talking about?
Your lack of proportion. Okay. Well, no, it's fine. It's fine. Anyway, suffice it to say that I am very, very happy in any case that we've reached our 100th anniversary, our 100th show. I think it's amazing. I want to thank our viewers. I want to thank the hardworking staff at Tumblr House in all their manifold but incomprehensible jobs.
You're so demeaning, Charles.
I'm not demeaning. I mean, look, I asked one of the girls in the secretarial pool, what do you do all day? She said, I generate correspondence. And I asked her, what does that mean? And she said, it means what I said. I generate correspondence. I make sure letters go out. I make sure they come in. And I said, okay, I got that part. But what are they concerned? What's the point? And she said, it's business. She said, you can't have a huge enterprise like Tumblr House without a lot of correspondence. And I said, well, why don't you just use email? And she looked at me like I was an idiot. I'm serious. And then I heard this, and she reaches up and pulls out a message from your office in, the pneumatic tube thing.
Right.
You still use pneumatic tubes.
Yeah, it's a proprietary system.
I guess. All right, well, forget it. I'm not going to complain about the company.
Oh, no? Oh, okay.
No,
well,
I'm not.
Let's move on then. Okay, so
right, let's go.
So what else is going on, Charles? What's going on in your world? Anything new? Any developments?
Yes, huge developments. I finished my book today. I finished the manuscript of the Kaiser Karl book. So it's going to be appearing from TAN in May. Keep your eyes out for it.
May. That's so far away. I can't wait that long.
Well, you'll have to, because it's no. But
okay.
It's going to be published in May. But wait, there's more. There's so much more. I am leaving here tomorrow. I'm leaving the City of the Emperors for the City of the Emperors. I'm going to Aachen, Aix-la-Chapelle.
Oh, wow.
And then, after I've been there a few days, I'm going to move on to Chavagne, in the depths of the Vendée in France. And I'm going to do a conference there with no less than Joe Pierce and Mike Church.
The good guys.
And, yeah. And then I'm going to go wandering in the forest of Brocéliande, looking for elves and Merlin and Arthur and all those people. I doubt I'll find them, but it won't keep me from looking. Plus, when I'm done with that, I'll come back here. I'll only be here a couple days.
Really?
Because then I'll be leaving on a jet plane. Don't know when. Well, I do actually. I'll be back on the 27th of August. But I will be leaving here. I'll get on a plane and fly to Paris. But I'm not going to be there very long, because I'm going to get on another plane and fly to San Francisco. But I'm not going to be there very long.
Okay.
About an hour. And then that big old bird is going to land at LAX. I shall return to the big nowhere. And so, if I were you, I would brush off the old studio. I would have it dusted for the first time in 6 months. I would have the corners searched for spiders and that kind of thing. I would lay in some donuts. And I would prepare, because we're going to go old school for the 101st show.
That's right.
Old school.
The old ways are best.
That's what they say on the 13th floor. Anyway, I shouldn't say anything about the 13th floor. It is kind of sad, though, when you think about it. I have actually heard people complaining, whining about the amount of time we spend chattering away on company business.
Yeah, we do.
But I look at it this way. It makes me happy.
It's your pursuit of happiness. I mean, you're a true American.
I sure am. I'm a grand old flag. I'm a high fly. Well, anyway, you get the idea. No, seriously, folks. It's all amazing. I spent the 4th of July very quietly here, as you know. No fireworks, no nothing. But that's going to be different when I get to LA. We're going to let off fireworks. We're going to have a parade, everything.
You didn't represent, Charles.
What do you mean I don't represent?
You didn't represent America over there. You're supposed to be a Yankee.
I'm a goodwill ambassador.
Are you a good goodwill ambassador or a bad goodwill ambassador?
I'm a great goodwill ambassador. I mean, whenever anybody says anything over here, I tell them how much better we have it in the States.
Like what? Like what?
Well, I'll give you an example. We were giving a tour of the Hofburg, the Imperial Palace in Vienna. that goes back to like 1100, and it's the oldest part. Like we're supposed to be impressed with that. So I told the tour guide, I said, we got older ones back home, bigger ones, better ones with central heating. So I told him.
No, you didn't. There's no way you said that.
And we went to the Kaisergruft, where all the emperors are entombed. And I said, this is nothing. You should see our presidential tombs in Washington.
No, you didn't.
And he said, what? Presidential tombs? This is the tour guide. I said, yeah, we've got this big crypt. It's like this, only better. And it's got all of our presidents neatly stacked with their faces and everything. It's kind of like the joint in King's Landing before it got blown to bits. The septum or whatever they call it. Yeah, I told him that's what our.
You're talking. Okay, got it.
Yeah, that's the. I told him that was based on our presidential crypt in Washington.
Wow.
And, he acted like I was full of it, but I told him, you're just saying that because you're Austrian. I tell you, I've been a goodwill ambassador.
I'm sure, Charles. I'm sure.
Yes. I told him, I was asked, what kind of gifts, etc., do we generally bring, to overseas? And I said, chocolates, nylons, trade beads. I've been doing my part for our country.
And we thank you, Charles, for your service.
As you should.
Okay.
We got any questions?
Okay, well, hold your horses, Charles. Okay, firstly, we hit our goal of $750. We're on the nose. Yeah, right on the nose.
Oh.
3 shows a month. So hopefully it holds up. Sometimes people drop out, but if it holds up, what the plan is we'll start when Charles gets back, and we'll do a show every week when he gets back. And so that's how we'll kick off. So we're gonna, we'll have a week off while Charles is parading around Europe.
Being a goodwill ambassador. For free. Now, you're not paying for my services, ladies and gentlemen. I am serving my country on my own dime.
And then we'll start up again, old school style, every week.
That's right.
For the duration, for the month of August. So
yeah, and then
then
we'll go to the 3 weeks in September.
Right. Okay, and I'm glad we hit the goal because we have been getting inundated with so many questions. So we'll be able to cycle through them 50% faster now. So that should make everyone happy. Okay, as part of the special 100th episode, we're going to go through a bunch of memes for our memes and dream sim. We have been absolutely flooded, overloaded, overwhelmed with memes on Twitter these past 2 weeks. We just have so many. So I really got to pick and choose this week from the memes. We've just had so many.
You think it's memey? It's memey?
It's memey?
Like dreamy. Memes and dreams, dreamy, memey?
No.
No, that's...
Mimi is not an adjective, no.
Okay, all right. Just try.
Gosh. Okay. So, all right, so let's start with, we'll go through these quickly. We'll see what Charles thinks of each meme. So, here we go. First meme. Fitzhugh from Fitzhugh and Bricks. So, we've got... I saw this. I had no idea what was going on. I don't know what I am. I don't know what Charles is. I'm told this is from the game Fallout, which is a post-apocalyptic setting. I don't know why I'm a mummy. I don't know who this mummy character is. And Charles has got these rags, but he's got a Sacred Heart situation going on, which is nice.
You got me. Are you sure it's not World of Warcraft and we're pandas or something?
Nice try, Charles. Yeah, Mist of Pandaria. That's one of the 5th expansion. Yeah, I mean, where you get that from? Your niece or nephew?
Of course. Where do I get all this nonsense out of? Are we blood elves? Who knows?
Okay. All right. There's one. So okay. So any comments on this? Just you're just lost. You're just lost right now.
I don't know what to say, but I'm all for it. What else we got?
Next one is from Mustard Marauder. Crashing the plane with no survivors. and we've got Charles, clearly the villain of Bane, and I am a very out of shape Batman, shall we
Yeah,
say? Not too flattering Batman.
That boy need a little bit of a butterball, you know. I think Batman need a little weight. Are you gonna be catching me, Batman? Gonna roll on me? Gosh, man, I bet you talking about being able to outrun Batman. I hope you got your utility belt that's not too tight, because you're gonna need to throw something. You ain't gonna catch me.
How do you feel as being Bane? Are you familiar with this? This is Batman 3.
I am. I saw Batman 3.
And so you know the reference where I think he leaves one of his villains on the plane. So there's so pretty hardcore.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. All right. What else we got?
Next one. From Meister. Yeah. So I guess I'm sad because they're doing a public execution. So that's a sad thing.
Yeah.
It's awkward. It's not my cup of tea.
No.
The next one you have all the pageantry and majesty of a monarchy. And that makes me happy.
As it should.
As it should. So that very
public
good.
Executions are downers. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. So very cute meme. Gets my approval. You got another one of the same cloth from Jolly Jacobite, where I'm having
that's
Charles,
unkind. That's unkind.
Having Charles answer questions from fans off the menu. Just it's hard work. It's. But then having Charles shill for books available for purchase at TumblrHouse.com, that makes me happy.
Well, that's all right. There's a certain amount of truth to that, but never mind.
That should make you happy too, because you should want your books to sell.
I do.
We know what happens when your books don't sell. Bad things.
I know. I get punished.
You get punished. So keep buying Charles' book. You've had a good week so far. I think the people have responded to the call to action to help Charles out, and they've come through this week. So thank you everybody.
You please, you keep that going so I don't have to be punished. And remember, it's bad enough being punished when I'm over here. I'm going to be home for August, and I do not want punishment then.
That's true. That's very true. Yeah. Okay. Next one is I plucked this one from your Facebook timeline, and it was just so good. This was kind of a 4th of July thing. The most vanilla family portrait in the world, except for one member of this family. But then they show it's like, okay, Great Britain is the father. I don't know all these flags. Let's see here. Canada, you've got Canada. What is it? New Zealand. I don't know.
The little kids are Australia and New Zealand.
Yeah. There you go. And I don't know what's the dragon one.
Wales.
And what's the one with the white cross in blue?
Scotland.
Okay. And then America is the rock and roll rebel, just gone off the rails, completely gone off the rails.
The problem child.
The problem child.
And what was funny? I was asked about this very meme, to extend, you might say. And the one question came to me: "Where's Ireland?" And I said, "Ireland's taking the picture." And then someone else sent me a note and said, "Where's India?" I said, "In the kitchen making curry for their lunch." So that's but that's pretty much America's position in the Anglosphere.
What I love about this, though, is, there's the dynamic. Like, the funny part, it's like, this happened in real life. Like, this is a family dynamic that actually happened, where you have the most vanilla family in the world. And then you have one of the sons that's just completely gone off the rails.
Rebel without a clue.
And so you think this really happened, right? This is not some sort of doctored thing. This really...
I think it happened. I don't think they were waving flags, but...
Of course.
I think that especially the little ones probably were not waving theirs. But I think that's probably an authentic picture.
Yeah.
And the kid looks like he could use a real slap across the face, get his mind right, as
That's so
various people
awkward.
say.
That's just
What?
so awkward. I just feel bad for the dad and just everybody. I don't know. It's so okay.
I know. The kid should have had his hair forcibly cut. I know.
Okay.
It's like Taylor Swift in a video. It's just embarrassing.
Whoa. Wait a minute. Okay, like old Taylor Swift or new Taylor Swift?
Either one, she's embarrassing.
Oh, you better watch. You better watch yourself. Okay, watch yourself.
And Lindsay Lohan.
Unpopular. There's a lot of old school vintage Taylor Swift fans who would not be happy with you right now.
What's old school vintage Taylor Swift? 3 months ago?
No, like when she was in high school, like
That's what I'm saying. 3 months ago?
no, like 10 years ago or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, well,
I don't know.
but she played Hannah Montana.
Wow. Wow. Okay.
Even I couldn't say that with a straight face. Never mind.
Okay.
Lindsay Lohan's available, isn't she?
You're just so stretching for all this pop culture like fake knowledge that you're just trying to shoot out there. Yeah, Lady Goo, Lady, J Lo,
Green Dog.
Yeah.
Green Dog.
Yeah, just...
That's when Snoop Dogg becomes the main vocalist for Green Day. Green Dog.
Green Dog.
Okay. This is an idea that has
Charles.
legs. All right, let's see what else we got in the bit.
The last thing is one of my all-time favorite comments we've received on YouTube. This is one of the best comments we've. I love this. I think you'll love it too, Charles. From Christopher Girolo. Imagine being new to Off the Menu, not having binged every episode like any reasonable and sane person. And you hear all this talk about someone named Tyrone, lucrative business deals with the IRS, and haunted 13th floors in some sort of tower. I can only imagine the utter confusion what I would give to read their thoughts.
Confusion is the guardian of truth, gang. Remember that?
Yes.
Well, I tell you, if you can't confuse them, what good is motherhood and apple pie? I mean, honestly, it's like my late father used to say: if you can't beat them, harass them. Do we have any more memes, or are we on to the questiones?
We're done. We're on to the questiones.
All right, let's see what we got.
We've got a bunch of questions from Ryan. Okay, first question. Could Charles please discuss the tradition of or history of an armed populace? I seem to recall that in the Middle Ages, only nobles, knights, and officers of the king could bear arms. What about Roman times? Is the Second Amendment, which allows an armed populace, an Enlightenment novelty? Or does it find some Catholic history?
Well, firstly, most people are born with arms.
Yeah, that's like that T-shirt where we have the right to bear arms, and it's a guy, but he actually has bare arms.
Yeah,
that's right. As in like the animal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You
didn't catch that.
No, I did. You got me. All right, that's good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, to answer your question, that's true and it's not true in the sense that during periods of peace, that is, when there weren't Vikings and people like that attacking, that was true. Although people did have things they could hunt small game with.
So what was true? That it's basically just the armed service is.
Yeah, it was the kings and the nobility and the knights that made war. Normal people weren't supposed to be involved with fighting. We think of it as a right to bear arms, but you have to look at the other half, which was an obligation to bear arms. And the serfs of the Middle Ages, they did their work, etc., on the proviso that they were protected. They shouldn't have to bear arms.
But I mean, wasn't the world a more dangerous time in a sense? I mean, muggings going on the road. I mean, you're all alone on the road. There's no police. There's no highway patrol. There's no.
No, there isn't. But the penalties if you got caught were hysterical. So if you played the robber on the King's Highway, and this was where people did bear arms. The local sheriff or whomever would get everybody together and they go hunt the guy down. That's where the phrase posse comitatus, power of the county, comes from, which stayed in law in England down to the 1830s. And as you know, it was a big part of our Western dramas. The sheriff got to get a posse together. Well,
Yeah.
that was the way things were done in the Middle Ages. The Western sheriff and the medieval sheriff had a lot in common.
Interesting. Wow.
So, as far as bearing arms, though, it was a bit different when people came to the New World because it wasn't settled. You had the Indian threat from the very beginning. And so from the very beginning, people went around armed in a way they just wouldn't have in Europe.
I see. Okay.
So, now mind you, the whole only the nobles fight went right out the window if you had a pagan aggressor. Because remember, in medieval Europe, there were certain seasons where people weren't allowed to fight. And there were certain areas where they weren't allowed to fight. The truce of God and the peace of God. But if you were fighting Muslims or much earlier the Vikings or Magyars or any kind of outside riffraff, all those laws went right out the window, obviously. And so you armed everybody and his brother to try to resist them. But remember, arming everybody and his brother meant arming people who were farmers. They weren't used to fighting.
Yeah.
It's interesting that until the Reformation, the idea of everybody getting involved in a war was strange. You didn't want to attack peasants because they're the only way you can eat. So by and large, people would try to avoid attacking, non-combatants.
Right.
But the Reformation introduced the idea of ideology into warfare, and so the result was the 30 Years' War, which was very devastating. So bad that there would never again be a war like that until the French Revolution, when the idea of the nation and arms and conscription and all that was introduced. There was never conscription before the French Revolution.
Wow. Wow, that's an important bit of information right there.
Yeah. But see, in this country, as I say, when you start, really not just here, but Australia, New Zealand, Latin America, South Africa, any of the settler countries, everybody had the right to bear arms because you were constantly under the threat of attack. So it was a very different development.
Yeah. Okay, next question from Ryan. It is my understanding that the common opinion in the church today is that the mere election of a man to the papacy by the College of Cardinals and him accepting the election conveys the papacy ipso facto. Was this always the opinion in history?
Yes, always. Although it wasn't always, as long as we've had a College of Cardinals and a conclave. The truth is that popes have been chosen in different ways. The second pope, Pope St. Peter, of course, was appointed directly by Christ. He appointed his successor, Pope St. Linus, the only one ever to be chosen by his predecessor. After that, they were elected by the priests and people of the city of Rome. And this continued until the popular element of the election dropped out. For a while, they were appointed by the emperors. And then the conclave system slowly developed, becoming fixed around, I think, the 1100s. But the Pope was held to be Pope from the moment he was elected. I feel a plug coming on for Ryan's question. Ryan, look carefully at the book that's about to be shown. Wow, Vicars of Christ, the history of the popes.
Ryan, you would know all these things had you read Vicars of Christ by Charles A. Coulombe.
That's me. Oh, was that a plug? Oh, gee.
A comprehensive history of the Roman pontiffs.
You betcha. And you'll find out all about how the electoral system developed and how the whole ceremonial side of the papacy developed.
Oh. Okay, Ryan's next question. He's very Ryan seems very interested in the papacy right now, so this is especially
I
relevant for him.
wonder why.
Hey. It seems to me that since the papacy includes powers far beyond those of an ordinary bishop, and being an office instituted by Christ himself, shouldn't the initiation of a papacy be accompanied by an equally powerful and obvious sacramental sign, like an anointing, or a crowning, or the obeisance of all the cardinals of Rome, or the swearing of a papal oath, or all those things? After all, even the coronation of a secular king has a holy anointing, and even ordination to the minor orders have specific ceremonies that indicate the powers conveyed. That's a great question, right?
It's a very good question. And the answer is that over a long period of time, people thought exactly the way you do, Ryan, which is why gradually, over a long period of time, the papacy got all sorts of added insignia, like the tiara. And that was why this culminated, maybe in the 1300s or 1200s, something like that, in the ceremony of the papal coronation, which was a wonderful, wonderful ceremony that did exactly those things. There was no anointing, but the coronation with the tiara made it quite clear what the story was. But then came the 60s, and people were very humble. And they didn't like to, it isn't about my office, it's about me and being authentic to whom I am as the person. And I don't want to clutter up my way of living the office with the traditional trappings. And this was true of mayors. It was true of universities, especially here in Europe, where they got rid of academic garb because of the 68. When the people who now run the show were young and alive. Well, back then, they were really alive. Now, of course, they're kind of hanging on as corpses. But in those days, they were alive. And they got very excited with themselves. And they said, we're getting rid of everything. Well, guess what? They grew up, sort of, physically. And they grew up in charge. But John Paul the first was typical, although he was not a boomer or a generation of 68 person, he was older. But there was a big thing in those days to get away from ceremony. I mean, it started with the Mass, obviously. But we want to be simple, we want to be humble, like in the early church. So when he was made Patriarch of Venice, traditionally, the Patriarch of Venice had his own gondola. And he would make his entry into Venice, the state entry with the gondola. And this is a big deal. But when Albino Luciani became Patriarch of Venice, he did away with all that because it's not where the church is going. It's not who we are. And then when he was elected Pope, he felt the same way about the coronation. And then he died. Poof! In a month or two. And then when John Paul II came in, he couldn't very well have a coronation because John Paul I hadn't had one. Now, I understand that Benedict wrestled with having one. He wanted one. He allowed himself to be argued out of it. And then, of course, when he had his coat of arms put up, he took out the tiara and put on the beehive or whatever that thing is. Looks like a beehive. Anyway, to answer your question, I think it was stupid. But nobody cares what I think. And then, of course, Pope Francis, being so humble, couldn't even think of, having anything like that.
Okay. All right, another question from Ryan. Why did popes after Paul VI so drastically change the rites of poping? With all these recent changes to the external rites and procedures, how can the faithful have reasonable assurance that the man elected as pope has the proper intention without any reservation of accepting the full rights and duties and responsibilities of the papacy as established by Christ to teach the Catholic faith as defined by scripture and tradition, whole and entire? It seems like a big deal, and I am perplexed on how a simple, yeah, I'll be pope, call me Francis, alone gets the job done. We can see now where Ryan is going with his questions here.
I can, and the answer is because it was always that way. Before we had a coronation, before we had anything ornate, there was a minimum of ceremonial because the papacy was illegal. One of the stupid things about the simplicity of the early church, which you won't hear so much now, but when they were bringing in all the changes in the 60s when I was young, was always we're going back to the early church. Well, yeah, but see, that simplicity was because it was an illegal organization. I was about to say, move to China if you really want to feel like the early church, but we know what the Holy Father's done with the church in China. Nevertheless, the underground church in China, they're close to the early Christians. Of course, they offer the Latin Mass, so I don't know. Anyway, that's what they forget, is that it's not really smart to look at what the pre-Constantinian church did because it was illegal. Everything was ad hoc, an emergency. So, I mean, if there's a war on, right, and there are blackout orders, so you always turn the lights out, and you only during the day, in the night, you're just got a little flashlight over your job. You're looking at the thing here. That is not a good pattern to follow after the war. The war's over. There are no more bombers. Yeah, I know, but we got to keep the blackout going. Why do we have to keep the blackout going? Well, because we just have to. That's what they've always done. They've always kept the blackout. Yeah, look, okay. They had the blackout because there were enemy bombers. And if they saw the lights, they'd blow us to smithereens. Okay, war's over. No more enemy bombers. So we should be able to turn on the lights, pull back the drapes.
Ooh, gosh, I have to do a brutal devil's advocate on this, albeit disingenuously.
Oh, well.
Wouldn't they say that about traditionalists? Like, what are we clinging to? Like, the world has changed, Charles. We don't have to do this anymore.
It has changed. It's no longer 1968. And the proof is in the pudding. See, I was alive in 68, and believe me, I know the difference. I also know that young people are attracted to tradition. They are not attracted to the crap these people are peddling. If you want to see where the future is, that's it. But I mean, again, when the Holy Father was going on about reading in the paper about, these orders that are getting vocations, he gets worried. You're right, Holy Father. You're right. Whenever there's success and growth and youth, you should worry about it because it means you're that much further away from 1968. I'm so sorry for you. And I share your pain. I grew up to Puff the Magic Dragon and Peter, Paul, and Mary. I remember Woodstock and tie-dye ties and go-go boots. Boy, do I remember go-go boots. I remember all that stuff.
Bell-bottoms?
I'm with you, Holy Father. Oh, bell-bottoms, I'll say. Ugh, boy, I remember all that stuff. Man. And bad as the 60s were in fashion, the 70s were a lot worse. It was jaw-droppingly awful. You have no idea. I remember the first time I saw bell-bottoms in my school, it was 1968. Now, mind you, I was in third grade. Yeah. And I looked at this kid was wearing blue jeans with bell-bottoms. And I looked at those things and I said, what the hell? And I called them elephant feet, which made everyone laugh. Within a few months, everyone except myself was wearing them.
Wow.
And then there was a terrible time between about 71 and maybe 73 or 4 where you could not get straight trousers.
Oh, no.
Yes. Everything was flares. I remember the first time my dad came home with a suit with flares, and I thought, Dad, what the hell? He said, I didn't have a choice, son. They didn't have proper trousers. Those were 3 or 4 terrible years.
That's scary to me.
Yeah, well, that's where the mind of our hierarchy are.
Where a pretty simple concept, even in fashion, can get eradicated.
Yeah.
Bell bottoms or flares only. No
straight trousers.
No normal pants.
Nope.
That scares me. That really scares me.
It was pretty awful. They just did not exist. Now, mind you, there were flares and there were flares. I mean,
Right,
my
but
dad would get
still.
the least flared possible,
Right, of course, but still.
but still, and
Like
I hated those things.
there's no alternative. You're getting some version of flare.
Of a flare, yeah. And I remember it was 74, 75, maybe. I saw my first straight trousers again. Man, I jumped on those things. I jumped on.
Wipe the sweat off your brow and said, "Okay,
Oh,
we're
it was
done."
horrible. But that's where the minds of the hierarchy are at in those 4 or 5 years. No, all you get are bell bottoms. You can't have straight trousers. Novo Soto versus Tridentine Mass. You get what I'm saying.
Yeah. Wow.
Because we're in charge and we do what we want. And we're old and we'll be dead soon and have to go to hell. What? Please. Don't let's take that further. Let's just leave it at that. Can we drop this? Why are we going on with this? I don't want to go on with this any longer.
You don't? Okay.
No.
Okay.
Let's drop it.
All right. Next question.
All right.
Last question from Ryan. What is the history of marriage annulments and their procedure? One objection I have to the present annulment process for Catholic marriages is that a couple first has a public wedding with many witnesses, and then at some point later they get divorced, and after secret proceedings, a secret annulment is issued, and there's no equivalent public declaration of nullity with many witnesses. How can a public sacrament with many witnesses be declared null in a secret judgment? Shouldn't such declarations of nullity of a public sacrament be published publicly by diocesan proclamation so all are aware of the fraud they witnessed for the sake of justice? Wow, that came on strong at the end there.
I'm sorry, I was just thinking that broad from Game of Thrones. Shame, shame, shame.
The religious yeah.
Yeah, I've had visions of her guiding the couple through the parish as everyone shrieks and laughs.
That's pretty intense.
Yeah, it is. To answer your question, the reason why these things are kept secret is for the sake of the children.
It's a good reason.
Well, this will surprise you, ladies and gentlemen, but the church is not so interested in punishment as she is in amelioration. If the punishment will do some good, that's one thing. But there are more important things than the parents involved, or the more important things than the children, rather. This is a strange concept for moderns because we're used to killing our children, but they're inconvenient. So it's a little tough for us to wrap our heads around the fact that they're, carrying on the race and going into the next generation and trying to scar them as little as possible is actually more important than anything else we can do. Now, one of the questions that might not have occurred to Ryan is, well, wait a minute, if a couple get annulled, aren't their children ipso facto illegitimate bastards? Which, in canon law, in days gone by, amongst other things, meant you couldn't become a priest or religious without a papal dispensation. The Pope literally made you legitimate. Hence the joke about the Pope's children. Anyway, but they have what's called putative legitimacy. So if your parents get annulled, it doesn't affect your legitimacy. And again, that goes to the fact that church law traditionally was all about the children of any given union and not tarring them with the same brush as their wayward parents. So that's why.
Okay.
But the tradition, also the second marriage, was never given, presuming you got married after annulment, it was never given the same kind of ceremonial, etc., as the first marriage. You wouldn't get annulled and then have another big wedding. That just wasn't done.
Got it. That makes sense. Okay, next question is from Thomas. Charles, what do you make of the Holy Father's recent gift of St. Peter's relics to the Patriarch of Constantinople? Critics have deemed it as worldly and as giving St. Peter away. I must admit, I was excited when I read about this, but I suppose time will tell if it is helpful in reuniting orthodoxy under Peter, or another hollow gesture under the guise of humility. What are your thoughts?
Istanbul was Constantinople. Now it's Istanbul, not Constantinople. Now Constantinople got the works. It's nobody's business but the Turks. Anyway, what? That was
I
the
like that
song.
song. Yeah, I like
I
that
do too.
song.
Yeah, it's called Istanbul. Was the name of the song.
Yeah.
Anyway, no, the can't go back to Constantinople. Anyway, the point is, there are two possibilities. One is that it was a sincere gift intended to bring the patriarch back. The other is that it was a hollow gesture, meaningless and stupid, like so many others. It could be a hollow, stupid gesture that has the effect to bring them back. Who knows? I don't. There is a theory among some Orthodox circles, which may or may not be true, and that is that now that Constantinople is no longer shackled to Moscow and various other really anti-papal Orthodox churches, they may seek to reunite with Rome. I don't know. It'd be nice, especially because they could use all the help they could get vis-a-vis the Turks. The situation of the Patriarchate of Constantinople is very dire. And empty, stupid gestures aside, if it was an empty, stupid gesture, they need all the help they can get. I don't know. So, we'll see. Time will tell.
Okay. Next question is from Todd. What is Charles's opinion on the historicity of the droit de seigneur, or right of the first night? If it is authentic, does that say anything about how sincerely Catholic those cultures were? If it is not authentic, there does seem to be contemporaneous accounts of it. What does Charles believe is the reason this idea was created and perpetuated so long if it wasn't real?
Well, first of all, we are the best people to judge sexual misdeeds in the past because of our lack of them today. As a pure society filled with wonderful people, we do know best. But the jus prime noctis, au droit du seigneur, was not, as is commonly thought by the moronic, to refer to the lord of the manor being able to have his way with any married chick the first night. It has to do with the widespread custom of not having sex the first night, and as it were, sacrificing that first night to the Lord, Christ.
Mm.
In other words, they would abstain the first night as a religious act. Now, were there brutal, stupid people around who took advantage of that and decided to interpret it that way? I don't know. Could be. It's difficult for us, again, because we've never had people in positions of power use their power for corrupt ends.
Did Edward Longshanks institute prima nocta and execute it in that way to outbreed the Scottish peoples?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I don't think so.
That's a historical inaccuracy from Braveheart.
Yeah, it's an historical inaccuracy from Braveheart. It's also an historical inaccuracy from The Warlord, with Charlton Heston as a Norman warlord taking advantage of the jus prime noctis. But I mean, it's the kind of thing that made Protestants excited. And it's the kind of thing that makes filmmakers excited.
Oh, whoa. Mel Gibson is turning over in his grave. You're going to attack Mel Gibson? He won, that won everything that year. That was a great movie, too. That's one of my all-time favorite movies.
Yeah, no doubt. And its historical accuracy was on a level with The Patriot.
Okay, fair enough.
Look, Mel Gibson is Irish and he hates the English. You know.
I thought he was Australian.
No, he's American-Irish. He was born in New York.
Dude, he's Australian, man.
Want to make a little wager on that?
He was doing Australian stuff. Mad Max. There's nothing but Australians on those.
Well, that's because he was raised in Australia.
Okay.
See, his father, whom I happen to know, just thought I'd let that out.
Yeah,
there.
You've been to the compound.
I've been to the compound. I've been to heaven. But, all right. Hutton Gibson won a fortune on the game show. He was they were living in New York, typical Irish American Catholic family. But Hutton's a brilliant man, has a photographic memory, quite literally. So he won a fortune on a game show, and he took the money and he moved his whole family to Australia in the early 60s, thinking that if there were a nuclear war, you'd have the whole on the beach thing. This is a true story. Look it up. And so there they were in Australia. And young Mel grew up there, and he grew up to have that sort of funny, strong and twang. But
Okay.
well, you tend to fall into the way people around you speak.
I stand corrected. Okay. I didn't know they were that newly immigrated.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, when his father speaks, he's an American. No doubt about it.
Okay.
And, I mean, it would be the same thing if when I had moved with my parents out here to California, if I had adopted the speech patterns of those around me. Dude, it's like, because, it's just, because see, you know what I'm saying? It's like, wow, and I mean, it's like, because it's just, and it's really because, like, it's just, yeah.
Lay off of California, Charles. Everyone else is fair game. California, off limits.
Yeah, well, tell it to Governor Newsom. You tell him to lay off California first.
Okay, so...
Gruesome Newsom.
Okay, so Prima Nocta was something totally different. It was not a political sort of maneuvering. It was not used as this coercive sort of situation, or was it?
No, it was a devotional thing. Now, whether or not, as I say, in local specific cases, you had an abusive moron in power, do something with it. That may well be kind of like the casting couch in the seminary. I'm sorry, in Hollywood. Hollywood.
Nice save, Charles. Yeah, got it.
I said Hollywood. The casting couch in Hollywood.
Hollywood, got it.
Or the pages in Washington, D.C.
What is that? The pages?
Pages, congressional pages.
Oh, okay, got it. Yeah.
There's a reason why the age of consent in the District of Columbia is 16 by act of Congress.
Well, it's 16 everywhere now. Talking to young people, they've informed me it's
not legally.
Yeah, legally. Yeah.
I don't believe that.
Look it up. I've talked to enough young people. My reaction was yours. Don't worry about it.
I mean, they may behave that way.
Okay.
And I'm sure there are a lot of older people who would love it to be true.
That's gross, Charles. All right. Next question is from Brittany. Would Mr. Coulombe please define the gospel? There are certain members in the hierarchy that enjoy using that term to justify actions which do not seem to align with church teaching, such as, in light of the gospel, the death penalty is inadmissible. Great question. Great question.
In light of the gospel, smacking a bishop around and kicking him in the rear is permissible. I mean, it's one of these free phrases that I hate because then they're meaningless. They could mean anything you want them to. In the light of the gospel, it's okay to have 3 wives. Part of the problem today is we're completely inundated by what someone or other, I think it was John Senior, called cheap thought. And it's not. It's the sloganeering, the buzzwords, anything that takes the place of a meaningful discourse, meant to shut down any possible conversation. You see, if you preface your remarks with, in the light of the gospel, obviously, if I disagree with you, I'm against God. So there's nothing I can say. Why don't you try ending everything you say with, according to prophecy? Okay.
Yeah. There are various clerics, I'm not going to name them, but they would use this tactic like the Holy Spirit was guiding their ecclesiastical actions. So that's sort of like, well, you're not against the Holy Spirit, right? And I was, you can't just cite the Holy Spirit for your actions.
Well, you can if he's going to pay your bail. What? I'm just saying.
Okay.
If the Holy Ghost is going to pay up, then you can cite him all you want. But no, I mean, basically, you have to believe everything I say because I'm God's lieutenant. Well, you know, it sickens me. It really sickens me, this kind of pomposity and this self-aggrandizement. You go against me, you're going against God. Well, no. How about I go along with you? I'm going against God. How about that one, smart guy? The problem is these people are still dealing with the rapidly dwindling capital that their decent predecessors lined up for. Today, as we're doing this, ladies and gentlemen, you're not seeing this until Monday, unless you're one of the favorite few. But right now, we're doing this on July 16th, Feast of Our Lady of Mount Carmel, and it's 2019. 40 years ago, 1979, was the death date of James Francis Cardinal McIntyre, who was my professor at the time and the former Archbishop of LA. And what a man he was. I emphasize man because that's not a word we think of in connection with the hierarchy. Well, the great thing about Cardinal McIntyre is that he knew to use his authority, but it was never for himself. It was always for the faith. And that's the difference. You could tell with these people when on the one side of their mouths they yap about humility, which is why they don't need to wear the costume that comes with the job. But on the other hand, they're in charge, warm boy. And if you cross them, you're an enemy of God. No. How about it's the other way around? How about you get the respect to your office that you give to your office? You behave like a bishop, and you get treated like one. How about that? You behave like a schmuck.
Yeah. Okay. Next question is from Patty.
Hi, Patty.
Paddy is a gentleman, not Patty.
Oh, so it's not Peppermint Patty.
Not Peppermint Patty. Yeah.
Shamrock Patty.
Patty's one of your big fans. Patty, I believe his last name's. Well, I'm not going to say his name. Yeah. Well, okay. There you go. Okay. He says, "What do you guys think about the issue of gentrification? On one hand, the distributist American Solidarity Party member within me want to stand up for the local residents against the supposedly villainous developers and corporations seeking to convert their neighborhoods into strip malls and soulless flats. I love patronizing small shops and businesses that have not yet been absorbed by our nation's giant and homogenous companies. However, the fact that this opposition is most often led by leftist community organizer types, from whence hailed our previous president, makes me wary. Likewise, do the crazy policies of my nearby San Francisco going so far as to prevent a man from turning his laundromat into an apartment building to satiate the demands of professional activists. My dudes, what do y'all make of it?"
Wow, I think I've been fingered as a Californian.
Yes.
Well, I make of it several things. Firstly, I think it's wrong to do a one-size-fits-all. A lot depends on the neighborhoods.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, you go to some neighborhoods, and they might be, shall we say, lower income, but you've got the mom and pop shops, Mama Alberghetti's Pizza Parlor, Katz's Delicatessen, the Thimble House secondhand store, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, the people aren't making a bundle, but it's a stable neighborhood. They are what they are, and they've been that way a long time. Well, that's the sort of place you'd want to keep gentrification out of.
Yeah.
You go to another place where the local entrepreneurs are crack hoes and things like that, and pimps, and a dime bag on a corner is what you're after. Well, those places could use some gentrification. So I think it really has to be a case-by-case, neighborhood-by-neighborhood thing. Now, let's say for a second that the first neighborhood is threatened by gentrification. Well, if the only people standing up for it are lefties, I'd join them. I mean, again, look at the issue first. And if you think it's worthwhile, get involved and let your light shine upon men. You know, make it clear to them that you're doing this because you're a Catholic, you're a distributist, you're an American Solidarity Party member. And maybe you can open up a conversation about Chesterton and Belloc.
Nice.
Of whom I'm sure they'll never have heard since they went to a university, so they wouldn't have been taught that stuff.
Of course.
And remember that you will inevitably have more in common with the actual people of the district than your leftist confreres will. So you may actually be more effective than they are.
Okay.
But it's a case-by-case thing. One of the problems we have in life is making doctrinaire judgments about things that do not admit of doctrinaire judgments.
Definitely. Okay. Our last question today is from Bradley.
Okay, Bradley. Lay it on me.
Is there any hope for America, like you mentioned for Ireland in a previous episode? Or is America doomed to be Mystery Babylon? What does he mean, Mystery Babylon? I know what Babylon was, but what's Mystery Babylon?
It's a combination of Hollywood Babylon and Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Really? That's
No.
MST3K reference?
No, it's not.
Okay.
I just said that. It has nothing to do with it, either one.
Okay.
No, there was a book that came out some years ago called Mystery of Babylon, Religion Unveiled, which I think had to do with proving that Catholicism was pagan. I don't know if he's got that in mind. It could just mean, are we going to become a New Age satanic state? I don't know. But in terms of the United States being doomed, who knows? I mean, all we know for sure is that we were born here or we live here. Or there, because I'm in Austria.
For now.
For now.
Enjoy the safety and comfort of Austria, Charles.
I am. It's great. Corpus Christi procession through the street. Mayor marching in it.
Yeah.
Police as, guardians. Yeah. It's pretty neat. Anyway, I'm sorry. I was, you wouldn't see that in too many places in America. I'd see it in a few, but not many. Well, you saw the one in Arcadia, didn't you, from Holy Angels, the big Corpus Christi procession down Huntington Drive?
I'll have you know that our parish, undisclosed, actually did one down Main Street. Father Philip.
Trying to show up.
Father Philip, he was bragging about it at the nights. Yeah.
You tell Father Philip.
Yeah.
You tell Father Philip that when he can get the mayor out there, the way we do in Trumau, he'll have something.
Yeah, so sorry, Austria. You're not the only guys who can do a Corpus Christi procession. Sorry. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But anyway,
in the spirit of Father Junipero Serra, it lives within us, Charles. Yeah.
If only it lived within Governor Newsom. But anyway, all right. Enough cheap shots in California, even though they are fun. No, seriously, to answer your question, that depends on us, It depends on how hard we try to evangelize. It depends on a lot of imponderables that none of us are in a position to measure. All we can do is the best we can do. Convert the country one soul at a time.
Yeah.
How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Yeah. And what I would add to that, I think I got this from Pope Benedict's writings, which is God's ways are not man's ways. So it's like man looks at structures of power, like what's happening on the surface. But that's not how God works. God doesn't work visibly, like out in the open, like, oh, Fox News is totally like, traditionalist now and CNN. It's not going to be like that. The motif of the Holy Family, things operate through the motif of the Holy Family. You look at them, they're not, they're totally underneath the surface. What's going on there? And I think the evangelization of our society is going to be something like that. I think, but obviously
And
there'll be outward things like, I mean,
eventually,
yeah,
I mean, it's like when the Roman Empire converted, you reach a critical mass. When enough people are believing Catholics, things begin to change.
right. Yeah,
You
see,
reach,
exactly, like when it was illegal, then like what was I mean, did they have a newspaper? I mean, what was the outward thing? It was underneath the surface, wasn't it? It just kept growing and growing, and
and growing
eventually,
in
yeah,
secret.
yeah,
And then slowly but surely it began to penetrate into the corridors of power.
exactly.
And as I say, even Emperor Diocletian's wife turned Christian, which is probably why he launched the last big persecution. Then they'd have all kinds of weird signs to recognize each other. One of the interesting things is that in those days, transubstantiation, the real presence, was a secret, the disciplina arcani,
Yeah.
and it was only revealed to you after you were baptized. Now, the reason why this is interesting is because the Romans got garbled accounts of communion, and that was why they came up with the charge of cannibalism.
Right.
Oh, the Christians eat flesh and drink blood. Well,
We can
not
never
the way.
believe that now because we don't believe it's real.
Well, there's that little problem. That's
Our
that's
faith
why we
isn't
have
real.
these. That's why we
Yeah.
have these weird Eucharistic miracles to show us we're wrong.
Yeah.
No, I had a Protestant fellow ask me today on Facebook, because I sent him a thing about the miracles, that assuming that they're real, why don't they happen all the time? And my response was, ask God. I don't know. But anyway, to go back to the main question, I would say the answer to your question, Brad, was it?
Bradley.
Bradley? The answer to your question really lies with you. How hard are you willing to work for the evangelization of your country? How important is it to you that this country survive? The more important it is to you, then you can be assured the more important it will be to other people. The less important, the less important.
I like that message because it doesn't help. There's so many scandals. It's easy to play the blame game and say, "Oh, it's wrong with the church because of this the people who do these scandals." But I think our message is, no, we're here because we don't really care about our faith enough to actually do anything.
Well, if we did,
yeah,
if we did, if the Catholic people, going back now 150 years, had been interested in converting our country then, it would be very, very different. Yeah. But we weren't. We never have been.
Yeah.
The all we were interested in was getting one of our own into the White House. And we did, the very day I was born. And oddly enough, everything has gone downhill precipitately ever since then. My whole life has been one of witness to decay and destruction. Your parents were older than me. They can remember quite very well the before time.
Yeah.
I could just remember it. And then a few years of memory and the morons start. The great stupefaction. And, it's been with me my whole life. That's why, when people say to me, how could the Holy Father say this and that? I've been listening to hear the same drivel out of that generation of priests since I was a boy. And I thought it was stupid then. Now it's indescribable. To put this another way, Vinny, you have known me since you were 8 years old. Now, if when I first knew you, I had said, you know what? I really would like to eat chocolate every day. And you heard that from me every time we ever met. By now, you'd be a little tired of the same message, especially because it's not true anyway. I don't even like chocolate. you'd be tired of it. And eventually you might just say, look, Charles, I appreciate you're older than I am. All due respect, could you not just stop about the chocolate? Okay? You're always on about it. It's meaningless. It's stupid. Drop it. Well, I have to tell you, that's really how I feel. That's what I would love to be able to tell the Holy Father and his generation of clerics and Susan from the parish council.
I've yet to put that meme up there. That's a good meme. There's a Twitter account, Susan from the parish council, for really fun stuff.
I love her.
Yeah.
I've tweeted my great love for her.
Of course.
Well, I remember one of them I said to her was, we could sing some serious Kumbaya together. She doesn't respond. Could it be unrequited love? What do you think?
I don't know, Charles.
Well, those are all of our questions, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, there are a couple of things to look forward to beyond what I mentioned. Are you ready?
Ready.
This is happening between now and the time I return.
Let's
Be
go.
ready.
I'm ready. My body is ready.
The last night in July, the night of July 31st, Lammas Eve. August 1st is the Feast of St. Peter in Chains, Lammas Day. Now, what does that mean, you ask? Well, it means it is the day when in old Europe, people with the very first harvest would come through, the first grain harvest, and people would make a loaf of bread out of the very first grain and take it to church to be blessed. It was the first loaf.
Yeah.
Lammas is short for loaf mass. Not lamb mass. A lot of people think that, but it's not. Loaf mass. So, what it means is that the harvest is beginning. And if the harvest is beginning, you know what that means?
What?
Autumn is on its way. Autumn. Think of it, Vinny, cool, crisp air, colored leaves falling, pumpkins, Halloween en route. Think of it, Vinny. Autumn is coming, and Lammas Eve is your reminder it's still the heat of summer. Michaelmas Day is coming in September. All kinds of things for autumn. It's a veritable treasure chest of pleasures. Thanksgiving.
You're jumping the gun, Charles. I like summer. Summer is my favorite, and it seems like you're done with summer.
Oh, gosh. Let me tell you something. Brethren and Mary's mother always used to say, summer's over with the 4th of July.
Really? Yes. 4th of July? That's like the heart of summer.
You got to remember that in New England, autumn begins early.
Okay.
Not quite that early, but it doesn't begin in mid-July. But I never quite knew what you meant by that. But still, I'll go along with the idea.
Okay.
But autumn is my favorite season, without a doubt.
Okay.
It is. So I'm looking forward to that. Also, on the 27th of August, something very exciting is coming.
What?
I'm leaving on a jet plane. I'll be coming back here.
Yes. But that's not exciting. Before we get several episodes out of you over here in the tower, in the original recording studio.
Well, see, that's the thing. You don't use the studio for anything, so it better be clean by the time I get there. If I sit in this dust-filled cavern, I'm not going to be happy.
We'll clean it
up.
And
by the way,
yeah,
I memorized one of the shows that we would do was our back. I memorized the books because I was sitting there time after time seeing them.
What are the books, Charles?
I can't tell you, but I'll know what's wrong if I see it.
Okay.
You better make sure that they haven't been fiddled with.
Okay.
Because I'll know if somebody's been fiddling around with the books. And usually that's something more for the financial department.
How is that?
Well, fiddling with the books.
Oh.
You heard about the corporate? You heard about the corporate chef?
No. What about him?
He cooked the books.
Okay.
Well, I'm sorry. These jokes hitting a little hard at home.
Loose lips sink ships, Charles. How many times do I have to tell you?
If it makes you feel better, I've heard of companies that keep one set of books for themselves and the government. I've heard of companies that keep two sets of books, one for them, one for the government. Why Tumbler House should have 7 different sets of books, I'll never know.
Well, that's why you're not a businessman, Charles.
I guess not. Anyway, seriously, I am looking forward very, very much to the homecoming and getting back to the old studio. We'll have to have a special homecoming show. We'll need to, I don't know, slay the fatted calf or something.
Yeah, maybe we'll think of something. We'll see.
All right.
All right.
In the meantime, let's see. I guess we'll pretty much run out of stuff.
Yeah. So that'll do it for this episode. If you'd like to send Charles a question, you can do so through the Tumbler House website. If you want your question to ensure your question be asked, become a patron for as low as $1 a month. Get exclusive content as well. We did about another, 10 minutes or so exclusive content for this with this show.
It was the pre-show.
The pre-show, yeah, the pre-show. So that'll do it for this episode.
If it's Monday,
it's off the menu.
And the soul you save
may be your own.
God bless everyone. Take care.